The thing about someone like Hardik Pandya, he's basically come from nothing. His family had no money. We took a real punt on him when I was at Mumbai, I think in 2013, picked him and got him for base price in the auction, and now he's probably on as much money as anyone else playing the tournament. He's probably on $4 or $5 million a season now, so his whole life's changed, as has his brothers that are playing in the same team. So they are rock stars, and you just see the way they get around with their tattoos and their chains and their cars and their watches and things. And good on them, they deserve it.
That's another big one from Pandya!
It's exciting to watch Pandya.
He's just an out-and-out power player now, and when you see him, he's probably 75 kilos ringing wet, to be honest, but he can bowl 140 k's an hour, and he's one of the best strikers of the cricket ball going around. So it's just a complete all-round package that I actually keep my fingers crossed and hope that we get to see more of him at Test.
Hardik Pandya wins the game for India off his own bat.
Oh, he's a freak, this bloke.
Right now, if you're picking probably a world T20 team, someone that can do what he can do, bowling his 4 overs and being able to strike it probably over 200 in the last 5 or 6 overs of an innings is a pretty complete package. So Mumbai's batting last year with Rohit Sharma, De Kock, him and Pollard and those sort of guys is pretty dynamic, so they're going to be a pretty hard team to beat again this year. Varun Chakravarti, who actually played his first year of IPL cricket last year, is a classical mystery spinner, so they've got Narayan and him together working in tandem from different ends. It can be a real handful for the batsman. He bowls an off spinner, he bowls a googly, he bowls a leg spinner, and he bowls like a carom ball that he sort of flicks out the front of his hand. So he's got the variations on deliveries, but he's also got a lot of pace variations as well, so he's a real talent. With the IPL being played in maybe 4 or 5 venues, by the end of the tournament I reckon the wickets are going to be turning a lot more, so these sort of spinners will probably come into their own and play a bigger part in this year's IPL than they have before. They had a really slow start last year, the Chennai Super Kings. They had a bit of COVID around their group. Their preparation got pushed back. Suresh Raina pulled out just before the first game and went back home for personal reasons. So, look, he's one of the leading run scorers in IPL history. He plays a really important role for the Chennai Super Kings in their middle order. He's a left-hander, obviously, very much a power player, plays spin really well, but just his experience and the partnerships that him and Dhoni and Faf and a lot of their senior players sort of create has been the reason I think the Chennai Super Kings have been one of the really powerful teams in IPL history. So him coming back this year, I've had a look bit of his social media stuff. He looks really fit. He's been doing a lot of batting, and they've just finished a domestic competition. So him as an inclusion in their middle order would be huge for them. He's one of India's best fieldsmen as well and can bowl some part-time off-spin. So he'll slot back in beautifully and give them that class and experience that the Super Kings need.
Great innings from Suresh Raina.
He's an interesting story because we had him at Delhi for about 3 seasons. So he's a leg spinning all-rounder. He never got much of an opportunity at the Delhi Capitals, and we decided to trade him to the Rajasthan Royals, and they played him up front first game of last season, and he did some remarkable things. I mean, he won a game single-handedly. He took wickets, and I think they needed 50 off 2 overs, and he got them all by himself. And so it really is quite a remarkable rise for him. You're someone that was sort of sitting on the bench in the IPL, and 12 months later he's playing for India, and he's developed beautifully. He's an ultra-talented, ultra-dynamic power player. He was only here for 3 or 4 games in the Big Bash last year, but he got hold of the Sydney Sixers after. He got hit in the head, and then it was like the next half a dozen balls, everything went for 6. He just like he flicked a switch.
That's savaged. What a shot!
I think he had 8 sixes in that innings, and Maxi was at the other end in amazement. And you don't see that very often when Glenn Max was in the Big Bash.
What a 50!
Kings 11, they've done well this year actually with him there, and the stocks that they've been able to build with their fast bowling with Jai Richardson and Riley Meredith both going there gives them a huge amount of firepower. So if Pooran bats in the top 4 this year, I wouldn't be surprised to see him as one of the leading run scorers in the tournament.
Of course he goes for 6.
Second tier.
Devdutt played his first IPL tournament last year. He was a tall left-hander, very elegant, stylish sort of player. I think this kid will turn out to be a really, really good player, potentially an international player. He'll open the batting with Kohli this year. I'm sure that's the way they'll structure things. I just had a look at him last year, and he just seems to have a bit of class about him. I know he's scored a truckload of runs as well in domestic cricket leading into this IPL, so I think with Virat at the other end and that opening partnership will be really important for the Royal Challengers in this year's IPL.
Oh, he's got his first wicket. Natrajan, welcome onto the international stage.
He's another one that's sort of come from nowhere, really. He's been around the domestic scene for a long time. He surprised everybody in last year's IPL with his Yorkers more than anything. He's not really a noted new ball bowler. Sunrise has used him for 1 over up front, 1 in the middle, and then 2 at the death, where he executed his Yorkers probably as well as anyone in the tournament. So, yeah, a real surprise packet. Not overly quick. He's probably 135, probably pulls him up, but just goes to show how valuable someone that can bowl good Yorkers can be in the T20 format. So for Davey Warner and Kane Williamson and those guys, it's always nice to look up and know you've got someone that can close out innings for you. There's a young bloke in our squad that has been a bit frustrating for me over the last couple of years, and that's a guy called Prithvi Shaw. He's had some technical stuff that he's had to work on, and I think we saw even when he came to Australia with the Indian Test team, he got knocked over twice in the first Test in Adelaide in pretty similar ways. I know that our batting coach, Praveen Amre's been working really tirelessly with him and putting a lot of hard work, and Prithvi's taken that on the chin and worked really hard himself. And I think he scored nearly 1,000 runs in about 6 games of one-day cricket, the Vijay Hazare Trophy that's just finished over there. So the penny might have dropped, because if it does drop, I'm not sure I've seen many more talented players than him in my whole time of playing the game. He's diminutive, he's probably 5'4", probably in the Tendulkar sort of mould, but hits the ball incredibly powerfully off front and back foot and plays spin really well. So if we can get him to take that form that he's just shown into an IPL, it just makes the balance of our Delhi Capital side so good. There's a chance that Stoinis will be able to bat up the order this year as well. If you got Shaw and Darwin and Stoinis and Smith and Rishabh Pant, if we can sort of get the best out of that batting group, then our batting group will shape up as well as anyone's in the tournament. And with Rabada and Nortje and Wokes and Ishant Sharma and these guys, plus a couple of Akshar Patel and Ravi Ashwin, we've got a really well-rounded squad that hopefully Prithvi Shaw is a big part of this year.